I'm Corbett Wall with DV Auction, here with your cattle market summary for the week ending October the 27th, brought to you in part by the International Brangus Breeders Association. Are you still looking for that perfect combination in your herd? Ultra black and ultra red genetics are derived from Brangus cattle. They allow producers to inject a low percentage of ear into their herd. For more information or to find a breeder near you, visit gobrangus.com. Boy, did we ever have a banner week last week in the cattle markets, all the way through till late Friday. They just started trading fat cattle higher and higher and higher, and your feeder markets just grew progressively higher as the week went on. We didn't have much suffering from that bearish cattle on feed report that come out a week ago Friday, and just everything was gangbusters. Just everything was positive, working its way through. And like I said several times last week, it just seems like we got over so many hurdles as we worked through the week. We got to the end of October where we knew our supplies of calves were heavy. We got through that bearish cattle on feed report. We got into some hard freezes, which is really helping guys getting new arrivals of calves in. Just one thing after the other, we just kept getting over all those hurdles, and it just seemed like bright sunshine on the end of all that run. But you look at the board for last week, December live cattle contract, Monday was up 15 cents, Tuesday up 2.77, Wednesday down 45 cents, Thursday up $1.62, and Friday up 12 cents, with December live cattle ending the week at 120.82. That was up $4.22 for the week. Now your October spot live cattle market ended the week at 115.37, which ended up being a long ways back of what the cash market ended up, but we'll talk about that in a minute. But January feeder cattle contract, Monday was down 45 cents, Tuesday up $4.12, as the industry just had no use for what the analysts thought the cattle on feed report placements were going to be. They had no confidence in them at all. They worried about it for just a minute on Monday, and then Tuesday come in with this big gains everywhere. Wednesday was up 60 cents, Thursday up $0.50, Friday down 15 cents, to end the week with January feeder cattle contracts at 155.95, up $4.63 for the week. The October feeder cattle went off the board the end of the week at 155.12, and November, which is a spot market now, is ended the week at 156.47. Your fat cattle market, just nothing all week until late Friday. Through Thursday, they only had 1,900 head of fat cattle sold in the entire 5-area feeding region, and we had to wait till late afternoon on Friday to see anything really break loose. And then it was like a tele-auction out in the feedlots. It started out, I had some 113, 114 in some areas on the fringe of the 5-area feeding region, like North Dakota, places like that. The packers were just trying to get anything going without showing how badly they needed cattle. But it just didn't seem like very long after the trade got started. It just started just bing, 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 just up the ladder. And you would have thought they had an auctioneer out there just calling bids, and people on the phone, on their iPads, texting, doing this and that. And it just kept growing. We had some sales 113, and then it was 114, which were both higher. And then it went to 115.16, but not very long. I don't think very many got 17, a few in Kansas. 118 was a prevalent number, but by the time it ended up, almost every area had 119, and a lot of them had 119.50. You never see that in the direct fed cattle trade, but it was just crazy on Friday. $2 to $7.50 higher. Think about that, from $2 higher all the way to $7.50 higher, but I would say mostly $7 higher. Probably more than anything, especially in the southern plains. Your cattle brought 118, and that would be your $7 higher, because they mostly brought 111 the previous week. But what's funny is probably the cattle that bring 119, 119 and a half which you had, and you sure had 119 in every major area, maybe not Iowa, but all your other 4 major areas, 119. Those cattle that bring the 119, 119 and a half were some of the greener cattle that may not have even been on the show list when they started the week, because at some point guys pretty much sold their whole show list thinking that maybe 118 or a few of them as high as 119 was going to be the bulk of the trade, but then they just still wanted more cattle, and so they had to come up with more cattle somewhere. So those were probably some of the greener cattle that they had in their lot towards the end of the line there. But just a very interesting fat cattle trade. Shows how much muscle this market has got. And you look at the slaughter, it was actually a little disappointing for the week. Only 617,000 for the week. And that was down 12,000 from the previous week, but up 3,000 from the same week a year ago. But the problem was on Friday we had some slow operation there, clean up and fixing up and things like that. Only 103,000 on a Friday, which is a whole lot less, and it really killed the week. But box beef cutout values for the average of last week's trade on choice carcasses, 201.05, up $2.42. Selects at 192.10, up $1.82, and now nearly a $9 spread between choice and select. What was kind of interesting last week, you had your cold storage report. Beef storage in freezers was up 4% more than last month, but down 5% from last year. But total meat storage in the freezers was the largest they've had in 15 years. That could be a little troubling, but that includes pork and poultry and all your meat products in there. But you look at some feeder markets for last week. Your real-time index based on the 800-pound steer on Beef Market Central ended the week at 153.82. That's up $1.36 compared to the previous week. Your feeders down in the southern plains, now think about this, they were sharply lower the end of the previous week. We saw those big drops in our major markets in the southern plains, but they all bounced back big time. I'm talking your El Reno, Dodge City, Salina, places like that. They bounced back big time in the southern plains. $6 to $10 higher for the week in the southern plains on big feeders. Your northern plains were just doing all they could ever do. They never really saw any weakness the previous week like we did in other spots, but maybe $3 to $5 higher on big feeders in the northern plains as they are wrapping up harvest up there. Your beans blew by the corn harvest and are just about wrapped up now. Corn is behind schedule, but they're getting a lot done, and it doesn't take a whole lot of time. The kind of equipment they use these days to get a lot of work done. But your calf markets maybe steady to $3 higher, and I'm including the southeast there on those order bought calves out of there. But your middleweight calves, I'm talking about where your big supplies are, your 5 and 6 weight calves, did not see the recovery from the previous week's losses this past week like your big feeders did and your peewee calves did. But still selling well. I tell you, we made it all the way through October, and I've talked about all week how you hardly ever get through October without having a real sick market there for a time. And we only saw that for 3 or 4 days, business days of trading, which was right before that cattle on feed report that there was a lot of uncertainty about. But we did see it there. But man, it didn't last long this week, and finished October strong. And going into November, as we're going to start to get through this calf run, and yearlings are extremely short. The only yearlings you're seeing now is some backgrounded yearlings, but they really sell well. But we're looking like we're going to have great feeder cattle markets on through probably January and February till we get into early spring. But you look at late in the week, probably the best test of the market. And I like Farmers and Ranchers Livestock in Salina, Kansas, because it sits right on Interstate 70, which in my mind is the separation between your Northern Plains cattle market and your Southern Plains Cattle Market. It's a very good test of the market. They sell big strings there. They've got a little bit of mix of some guys that's got farmer feeder orders, and they've got mostly commercial markets, but a really good test of the market. Late in the week on Thursday at Salina, they had 120 head of steers, weighed 806 at 169. That's a look at your week's markets from a Home DV auction office here in Canyon, Texas. We'll talk to you next week.